What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Glut Open Woke AF. So, I want to build on my theory of consciousness. Sort of, what are some of the implications and how this shows up? So, one of the ways that it shows up is that, given that our brains are not producing consciousness, but rather they are receiving consciousness like an antenna and then broadcasting it a frequency. It's like we're receiving the consciousness, we're sort of processing it through our personalized software and hardware, which would be our minds and our brains, and then projecting or broadcasting a vibratory frequency of this configured consciousness, which then interacts with the quantum world outside, or the quantum field, and produces and creates what we perceive as reality, right? It's very similar to the whole vibratory attracts, and I believe that it does work that way, that we are broadcasting a vibratory frequency that either attracts or repels certain things into our lives. But I also think that it works at a finer level, or at a level or a more quantum level. That consciousness is literally creating our reality. But I'm not going to go into that right now, because what I'm going into is, how does this apply? Okay, so if I am receiving through, and I explained that the way that in some of my other videos. So yeah, you kind of have to see my other videos before you. If you have questions upon how can such a thing work? How is the brain like an antenna? How can the body receive a signal? How can you all that? I cover that in these other videos. So the brain produces an electromagnetic field. The heart produces a much bigger electromagnetic field. When these two fields, the two sides of the brain and the heart, are in coherence, meaning that they're in harmony, then it amplifies the electromagnetic field that is created. And what I'm suggesting is that this electromagnetic field behaves like an antenna which receives consciousness. It's like it funnels it out. The electromagnetic field is a donut. It goes like this. So like this. You can think of it. It's going both ways. But anyway, so the information comes in. Then it's processed by our beliefs, and then it's broadcasted out, and it interacts with the outside world. Ultimately, there is no outside world, because it's all happening within consciousness, which is hard to get into. But given that my brain and my body are an antenna and a broadcaster of consciousness, if I am in coherence, meaning I am, like I just described, harmonized. Let's say when you're in a state of gratitude, right? Gratitude naturally puts the body's resonance in a state of coherence. So if you can think gratitude and feel gratitude, bam, like now your brain and your heart are in coherence. They're in synchrony. They're in concert. They're they're grooving. That's creating that allows you to pick up a better signal. It's like having your phone and, standing in that part of the house where you get a really strong signal, or, you know what I mean? When we're going into gratitude, that's an example of a state in which we're getting a strong signal, right? Like, a lot of times people feel this, oh, he has a really great vibe. If somebody has a great vibe and you ask that person how they're feeling, you probably don't even have to ask them, but if you do, they're going to tell you a positive feeling. They're going to say, I feel grateful, I feel joyful, I feel amazing, I feel awesome. You're going to see, this person looks like they feel awesome, and they have this awesome vibe. So when you're in that state where that coherence and this, is happening, you're basically you're picking up a much better signal. That better signal means you're receiving more of this life force, just the way, the phone is plugging into the internet, and it gets a better signal, and therefore everything works better on the phone. When our brains are getting a better signal and connecting to the living quantum web of consciousness, or the universal, or what is it, like the universe wide web, or the consciousness wide web, whatever you want to call this web, like infinite consciousness, primordial consciousness. When we have a really strong connection to that, we're able to access a greater reality. Basically, we're picking up a greater version, we're accessing a greater version of reality because we're picking up more bits per second. We're picking up more information. We're able to access more information in real time, which is giving us like a much broader range of possibilities, of possible outcomes, of possible interpretations, possible opinions, rather than being very narrow-minded, only able to see one point of view. You instead get this broad spectrum of like, wow, this is half empty and half full, and just perfectly full enough, or empty enough, or you get all those perspectives, which allows us to respond to the moment with enthusiasm and joy, because we see that the possibilities that we like are available. When you're able to see all the different possibilities, there's a much greater chance that you're gonna like some of these possibilities, right? So you're more optimistic. You have a greater chance of being optimistic about what's happening. You're also able to connect and communicate with other people better. Just like you can communicate better on the phone when you have a stronger signal, you can communicate better because you're connected, which means if you're connected to source consciousness, then you're connected to the other's consciousness. And it's like you have a good connection between the two of you. So you're able to communicate well. You're able to know what the person means by what they're saying. A lot of times somebody says something and they're like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't say it right, but people know what they mean when they're on the same page. But sometimes they don't know what they mean. Like genuinely, I don't know what you mean by that. You're not on the same page. You're not on that same vibe. So we're able to see the other person's point of view. We're able to connect and access information about what this person needs right now, what this person wants, and in concert with what I want to communicate, I can also know what this person needs, so I can know like what to do with my tone, what tone to use for this person, what phrasing, what wording, what gestures, what facial expression this person needs in order to receive the meaning of the message that I am transcribing, like that I'm communicating to this person. So that's what being connected is all about. So certain practices like yoga, meditation, breath work, a lot of these contemplative practices, spiritual practices from ancient times, prayer, filling your heart with love, all these things, they put the body in a state of coherence. And coherence is a biological phenomena that really reflects a spiritual experience, right? So there's a biological, observable phenomena that we can study that is reflecting and sort of matching how we're feeling in that experience. So like again, gratitude or joy or feelings of love. When we feel in love with somebody in that first couple of weeks of dating somebody, and you're like, really in love, everything seems to click so well. Everything is really smooth. Even things not related to our relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, seem to be working better because we're having a stronger connection, which means we're perceiving reality. We're able to see, like I said, we're many possibilities and potential. We're getting a finer, richer information about the world around us and having a greater amount of choice. That's like kind of the bottom line. When you have this greater range of possibilities that are available to your awareness, then now you have choice. And when you have choice, you feel happy about what you're doing because you feel in control. You feel like you've chosen this. It's not happening to you. Versus having a very poor connection, like a poor internet connection, but in this case, it would be a poor living consciousness web connection, or however you want to. I have different phrases for it, but the quantum wide web or the living quantum web is one of them. When you have that stronger connection, you're able to see the many possibilities and potentials. You can see opposing perspectives, interpretations, and opinions. Actually, you can see both opposing opinions simultaneously and see how they each have merit and how they're each legitimate from that point of view. From this point of view, that seems legitimate. From mine, it doesn't, but since I have this good connection, I can see in 360 and I can see all the different perspectives and how they're each legitimate. So even though to me that doesn't make any sense, I can see how it not only can make sense for you, but it can be right for you and beneficial and healthy to you in relationship to you, whereas it might not be for me. I don't need to have a value judgment and say that this is absolutely a bad, negative thing, because I have a strong connection, which is giving me the full picture, the 360 angle of the situation, and it's presenting many choices are becoming available in my conscious awareness. Okay, so I think I pretty much covered it. I hope I didn't go in circles too much, but this idea of consciousness being all pervasive, and that we're in consciousness, and that our brains are an antenna that's receiving consciousness and expressing it through our bodies, really allows us to understand how we create our lives and how we determine the amount of information that we're able to access, and how we are not separated from anybody. Nothing out there is like inherently separated from us. It only seems that way because I have a specific point of view that I am identifying with. But if I can identify with a greater range, like if my identity of what I am can expand, and it does naturally when I have a clear connection to the quantum wide web of consciousness, this expanded state of being allows me to live in harmony with all these things around me and to see other people's perspectives and to feel at one with everything. That's really what it's about. It's this oneness. It's about realizing that whatever point of view I'm seeing things from is very temporary, and it's only and it's illusory. It doesn't exist in and of itself. That point of view only exists because I happen to be positioned in that point of view at the time in relation to whatever I'm observing, judging, interacting with. But the separation is not real. And I'm going to make another video that really breaks down how this subject-object separation is not real, like the duality between it. But I just really like the physics of having the brain be an antenna and consciousness being all pervasive thing, like the World Wide Web, the internet. It's like it's everywhere. We never see it or touch it, but we can pick up on it with our computers. I really think that helps us as a species moving forward to come up with solutions and a brotherly love, like brotherly, sisterly love for your neighbor. Love to me is another word for connection. Like when you love someone, you feel connected to them. As soon as you don't feel connected to them, you don't feel that love anymore. So I think that this is a paradigm that will assist in us moving into a harmonious reality of peace and joy. So anyway, any questions or feedback is much appreciated. Thank you. Much love.